The wallet. Suddenly, Honorio looked at the ground and saw a wallet. Bending down, picking it up, and putting it away took only a few moments. No one saw him, except for a man standing at the door of a shop, who, without knowing him, said laughing, "Look, if you hadn't noticed it, you would have lost it for good." "That's true," Honorio agreed, embarrassed. To understand the significance of this wallet, it is necessary to know that Honorio has to pay a debt tomorrow, 400 and some thousand rays, and the wallet was stuffed. The debt doesn't seem large for a man of Honorio's position, who is a lawyer, but all amounts are large or small, depending on the circumstances, and his couldn't be worse. Excessive family expenses, initially to help relatives and then to please his wife, who was bored with solitude, balls here, dinners there, hats, fans, so many things that there was no choice but to discount the future. He got into debt. It started with store and warehouse bills, then loans, 200 to one, 300 to another, 500 to another, and everything kept growing, and the balls kept happening, and the dinners kept being eaten, a perpetual whirlwind, a vortex. "You're doing well now, aren't you?" Gustavo C., a lawyer and family friend, recently said to him. "Now I am," Honorio lied. The truth is that he was doing poorly. Few cases of small importance and remiss clients. Unfortunately, he had recently lost a case in which he had great hopes. Not only did he receive little, but it also seemed to have taken something away from his legal reputation. In any case, the newspapers were mocking him. Miss Amelia knew nothing. He told his wife nothing about his business, good or bad. He told no one anything. He pretended to be as cheerful as if he were swimming in a sea of prosperity. When Gustavo, who visited his house every night, made one or two jokes, he responded with three or four, and then he would listen to the pieces of German music that Miss Amelia played very well on the piano, which Gustavo listened to with indescribable pleasure. Or they played cards, or simply talked about politics. One day his wife found him giving many kisses to their 4-year-old daughter and saw his eyes wet. She was startled and asked him what was wrong. Nothing, nothing. It is understood that it was the fear of the future and the horror of poverty. But hopes returned easily. The idea that better days had to come gave him comfort for the struggle. He was 34 years old. It was the beginning of his career. All beginnings are difficult. And he kept working, hoping, spending, asking for credit or loans to pay poorly and at bad times. Today's urgent debt is some damn 400 and some thousand rays for carriages. The bill had never taken so long, nor had it grown so much as now, and strictly speaking, the creditor was not pressing him. But today, he said a harsh word with a bad gesture, and Honorio wants to pay him today. It was 5 o'clock in the afternoon. He had thought of going to a moneylender, but returned without daring to ask for anything. As he walked down Asamblea Street, he saw the wallet on the ground, picked it up, put it in his pocket, and kept walking. During the first few minutes, Honorio thought nothing. He kept walking, until Largo de Carioca. At Largo, he stopped for a few moments, then walked down Rua de Carioca, but soon returned and entered Rua Uruguayana. Without knowing how, he found himself a little later at Largo de San Francisco de Paula. And still, without knowing how, he entered a cafe. He ordered something and leaned against the wall, looking outside. He was afraid to open the wallet. It might contain nothing, just papers of no value to him. At the same time, and this was the main cause of his reflections, his conscience asked him if he could use the money he found. It didn't ask him with the air of someone who doesn't know, but rather with an ironic and reproachful expression. Could he take the money and go pay the debt with it? That was the point. His conscience finally told him that he couldn't, that he should take the wallet to the police or announce it. But as soon as it finished saying this, the urgency of the situation pulled at him and invited him to go pay the carriage bill. They even told him that if he had lost it, no one would return it to him, a suggestion that gave him courage. All this before opening the wallet. He finally took it out of his pocket, but with fear, almost secretly. He opened it and was trembling. It had money, a lot of money. He didn't count it, but he saw two notes of 200,000 rays, some of 50 and 20. He estimated about 700,000 rays or more, at least 600. It was the debt paid. It was less some urgent expenses. Honorio was tempted to close his eyes, run to the carriage, pay, and after paying the debt, goodbye. He would reconcile with himself. He closed the wallet and, afraid of losing it, put it away again. But soon he took it out again and opened it, wanting to count the money. Count for what? Was it his? Finally, he overcame himself and counted. It was 730,000 rays. Honorio had a chill. No one saw, no one knew. It could be a stroke of luck, his good fortune, an angel. Honorio regretted not believing in angels. But why shouldn't he believe in them? And he returned to the money, looked at it, passed it through his hands. Then he decided otherwise, not to use the find, to return it. Return it to whom? He tried to see if there was any sign in the wallet. If there is a name, any indication, I can't use the money, he thought. He searched the wallet's pockets. He found letters which he didn't open, folded notes which he didn't read, and finally a business card. He read the name. It was Gustavo's. But then, the wallet? He examined it from the outside, and it indeed seemed to belong to his friend. He returned to the inside, found 2 more cards, 3 more, 5 more. There was no doubt it was his. The discovery saddened him. He couldn't keep the money without committing an illicit act, and in that case, it was painful to his heart, because it was at the expense of a friend. The whole castle he had built crumbled like a house of cards. He drank the last drop of coffee, not noticing that it was cold. He left, and only then did he notice that it was almost night. He walked home. It seems that necessity still gave him a couple of pushes, but he resisted. Patience, he said to himself. I'll see tomorrow what I can do. When he got home, he already found Gustavo there, a little worried, and even Miss Amelia seemed concerned. He entered laughing and asked his friend if he was missing anything. Nothing. Nothing? Why? Put your hand in your pocket. Aren't you missing anything? I'm missing my wallet, said Gustavo, without putting his hand in his pocket. Do you know if anyone found it? I found it, said Honorio, handing it to him. Gustavo grabbed it hastily and looked suspiciously at his friend. That look was like a stab to Honorio. After so much struggle with necessity, it was a sad reward. He smiled bitterly, and when the other asked him where he had found it, he gave him the necessary explanations. But did you recognize it? No. I found your business cards. Honorio took 2 turns and went to change for dinner. Then Gustavo took out the wallet again, opened it, went to one of the pockets, took out one of the notes that the other didn't want to open or read, and handed it to Miss Amelia, who, anxious and trembling, tore it into 30,000 pieces. It was a love note.